The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like and share them on Facebook because it's time for the Sue Ellen Sanders Show, hosted by Sue Ellen Sanders.
Welcome to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. And I was just saying, I think it's time for some new music.
What would you prefer?
I know it's kind of identifying the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. People hear it and say, oh, Sue Ellen Sanders is about to, her show's going to come on and I'll just listen to stuff about the community and this and that.
The music's going to be important because we need it to sound like the Treasure Coast. Right?
Well, and when Veronica first picked this music, she picked it because it was jazzy, and I felt jazzy when it came on. And for the first year or so, it wasn't always my music. We started it maybe, 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
It's been that long.
I've been doing this show for 18 years. Think about that. 18 years.
I remember. I was there.
There's not many other things I've had in my life for 18 years.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. But at any rate, to move on, so I felt really jazzy, and it was great, but, now it's been probably 8 or 10 years, and I'd really like something new. So opening it to people who are listening or to my guest here, Sydney Liebman, if you have any ideas for new music for the open and close and the commercial break for the Sue Ellen Sanders Show, I think that would be a lot of fun. Something that maybe, like you said, reflects the Treasure Coast and perhaps my personality.
Well, that what does it enhances what they hear, so you'll automatically fit right in because you'll be the bright and sunny Treasure Coast voice with a bright and sunny Treasure Coast music.
And we can't use like stuff from Maroon 5 or somebody that's
right.
That's what I was going to say.
I think there's a rule on talk radio that you can only use like a few seconds,
or you can use pre-produced. That's not copyright.
Right.
We can't use, like, say, an artist song that belongs to a band or an artist.
Seems your son could write something for you. He's very talented.
Seems he could.
You could do that.
Seems he
have
could.
Access to an orchestra? Can he compose?
Well, he has access to artificial intelligence.
Oh.
Oh, what a great lead in there, huh?
There you go. Mm-hmm.
So he could actually, have the computer generate something for me with his help. I'm sure he can. So anyhow,
Probably the ask should come from someone other than his mother. It usually works better that way, don't you think, when you're dealing with your kids?
Absolutely. So it's not just my son. I actually, people will call me and they'll say, can you ask Jake if he will? I go, you know what? If you text him, let me just give you his number, because if you text him, you're going to get an answer way quicker than I am.
Hey, Mom, can you make Jake do this and that? You get any of that?
Yeah, no. But at any rate, Sydney Liebman is not actually here just to chat about the music for my show or to chat about sons in general, but we are here to talk about HANDS, which is the Volunteers in Medicine Clinic, and some of the fundraising efforts, particularly the one that is coming up just around the corner. Now, I know we've had a number of the different Ladies of Julia, the GEMS, Ladies of the GEM.
Ladies of the Julia Project.
Okay, all right. Whatever we're calling it right now. Because these women, of which I number as well, and Sydney numbers, have played an instrumental part in raising an incredible amount of funds for the Volunteers in Medicine Clinic in St. Lucie County.
They have raised, I hate to start off with what I should end with.
Well, we can start and end with it.
But yes, we'll do both. They have raised over the course of the past 3 years, $615,000. That all goes towards patient care at the HANDS Clinic here in St. Lucie County. That's a lot of money.
And then, you think about the money and the fact that that's actual cash money that they've raised. And because so many of the services that the HANDS Clinic provides are, you get more for your dollar.
So at the Hands Clinic right now, every $1 donated is valued at $15.73 in services. So I apologize, I can't do the math in my head. Cliff, maybe you can quickly do it. But that's $615,000 times $15.73
Is a lot of
is
money.
a lot of money. And that's, as I said, over the course of 3 years. So the Julia Project started out as truly, we thought we were going to just do it for 1 year. And it was 12 women who really didn't know one another, but now they are all lifelong friends and sisters. And each of them committed to bringing in $1,000 to the project. And so we thought that maybe some of them might bring a little more than 1,000. So we thought maybe we would make between $20,000 and $25,000 in that first year. It was mostly about bringing awareness of the clinic to the public because so many people in St. Lucie County didn't know about the Hands Clinic and the services that it provides. But in that first year, those ladies raised over $300,000.
It's amazing. And the other thing is that was really cool, I think, was the way each of the women went to her own group of friends and family and business counterparts and came up with a fundraising idea that would fit them and get the word out about the Hands Clinic. So each different event was different. What different event was different? Yeah, was
Yes.
not so much different as had their own spin on it. I mean, somebody did a cookbook, somebody else did a calendar. We had the Doc's Rock concert, which has been on its own tremendously successful. The Little Black Dress event, a glow party, all different types of things. And the other thing I really like about the stuff that the Julia Project brings to the community is all of these events are pretty affordable events. They're not the type of events where somebody looks at it, the date coming up on their calendar and says, well, we can't afford to do that.
That's exactly right. I think the highest priced event we've had has been 2 tickets for $90. I don't think we've gone over that. If we have, then it escapes my mind right now. Excuse me. But you're right. Every event that's been held, and for that first year, there was an event every single month.
I was exhausted.
Everyone was.
I can imagine.
It was exhausting, but it was all good.
Yes.
And every lady of the Julia Project raised the bar. Every single month that bar was raised. And it was phenomenal. None of them felt like they were competing with one another. All of them helped each other out. It was truly a team effort, even though one particular lady was in charge of the project for that month. So if I can, for just a moment, what we're talking about is a diamond necklace that was donated to the clinic by G. Allen Fine Jewelry over on Midway Road. The necklace was considered to be of about a $13,000 value. I know you can't see me right now, but I'm wearing the necklace for this month of June, and I love wearing this necklace. I'll never own anything of this value, and it's a lariat design with diamonds coming down in the middle. There are diamonds that come together and form the shape of a heart, but it looks like fingers of a hand. Forming the shape of the heart, and it's a beautiful design to actually represent this cause. And it comes from a book that was written back in, I think it was about 2009 that the book was written, and it's a true story about some women in California who decided to purchase a very expensive diamond necklace. I think it was about $50,000 necklace, and they wanted to experiment to see if 12 of them could actually share ownership of this necklace. And a mutual friend of ours, Wendy Dwyer, read the book, shared the story with me, and felt like that would be a good way to raise money and awareness for the clinic. And I'll always be grateful that she shared that story with me, because we picked 12 women. She went to Mr. Childress and asked him to make the donation of the necklace. And it's just been an incredible project ever since.
And the person who has it the month that they are the Julia person that month, they wear the necklace as a symbol of, what the whole story is about raising awareness. So people will say, "Oh, what a lovely necklace," or you might say, "See this necklace." It is a physical symbol to represent the giving nature of everybody who's involved in this project. And I will tell you that the month I wore that necklace, I was so afraid I was going to lose it. I was so afraid I was going to be the Julia lady that was, we remember Sue Ellen. She's the one who lost the necklace.
I have to say that thought just never enters my mind. I'm not afraid I'm going to break it. I'm not afraid I'm going to lose a diamond. I don't know why. I am 100% empowered when I wear this necklace, and I haven't taken it off since it was put around my neck a week and a half ago.
Wow. Wow. So, and this is not your first time wearing the necklace.
Well, this is my first year being an official lady of the Julia Project. And for those of you out there also, that is spelled Jewelia, as in jewels. And I did take on another person's month the second year of the project. Someone had to move out of town, and so I took over her month. But this is my first year as an official lady of the Julia Project.
And some of the women have repeated year after year and done the same type of event, like Sandy Allen's Little Black Dress event that is, a traditional September event now, and Kathy Post's Doc's Rocks concert, which is a tradition for the spring now.
Yes.
And then there's others of us who stepped in and did something and then passed it on to somebody else. But Sydney's right. Everybody has stayed close. You've finished. This is the third year. Finishing the third year of the project, and so you're getting ready to announce the fourth year of the project.
Yes, so the fourth year, those ladies will be announced at the July 14th Beach Blanket Bingo event that's coming up at the Elks Lodge.
Which is DJ Gardner's event.
Actually, there's a new lady.
Okay.
And so I can't name who that is, but we're very excited that some new women have stepped up. Quite a few of us who have been involved in the project for the whole 3 years are stepping away. I'm one of them. I'll be stepping away. I no longer work at the clinic, and I'm stepping away from the project entirely, but I will always attend the events that I can attend, and I will always advocate for access to health care.
Well, because it's an awesome organization. It's a nonprofit we should all support, and also the events tend to be a lot of fun.
The events sell out. We haven't had an event that didn't sell out, that wasn't successful. And I mean, that is kudos to these women who put such hard work. As you know, you had an event. You know how much hard work goes into planning these events. And Sue Ellen's event was so interesting because at the time she was teaching, and she actually brought in her students to be a part of her event, which was incredible to me because that's a whole new generation that's learning about the need for access to health care. So
Yes.
it was great.
Well, thank you. And of course, we were reading The Great Gatsby, and when I came up with the idea to do a Gatsby gala, the students were all about the things like the music and the decorations, and as it turned out, the main thing they wanted to do was get dressed up and walk around and act like that they were at Gatsby Gala, but that's fine. There was a use for them to do
Yes.
that. So that was a lot of fun. It was my 10th graders at the time at St. Andrews, and that was a lot of fun. So this is your month. You've had the necklace now for a couple weeks, and your event is coming up this coming Thursday night. Let's talk a little bit about that.
All right. So this Thursday night, the St. Lucie Mets game is the Hands Clinic and the Julia Project are being represented at the St. Lucie Mets game, and I'm really excited to say that I'll be throwing out the first pitch. So I was telling Sue Ellen earlier that the only ball we own in our home is a bowling ball, and I haven't been able to practice. So a friend
I'm
of mine.
glad you're not throwing that bowling ball. Can I just say?
So a friend of mine, a coworker, actually brought me a tennis ball yesterday to start practicing. And so last night I sent my husband out into the street, and I had him count out about 60 feet, and he did. And I am very excited to say that I threw it and to him, all the way to him, and he caught it. And
He
so
was probably really amazed as well.
he was shocked because
Yeah.
he kept saying, "You can't do it. You can't do it."
Oh,
So,
lovely.
so I showed him a thing or two.
Yes, yes. And so we were talking before the show started about the importance of being optimistic mentally even when you're walking into a situation where you have to show some type of physical prowess, like throwing a ball at the beginning of a baseball game with 20,000 people watching you. And probably not 20,000, but you get the idea.
True.
But yeah, it is true that it's probably helpful to practice a little bit, and in just about any sport that practice, some type of physical practice is important. But you remember the Music Man? Do you remember the story of the Music Man?
Yes, actually, my son was in that.
Okay. And my son, too, and a different version of it, probably in the same auditorium, though. And the whole idea is Professor Harry Hill teaches the kids how to play instruments using the think method. And people think that, of course, he's just pulling the wool over their eyes anyhow. And he is a salesman, so he probably is. And then when they get their instruments in, he surprises everybody that those kids can actually somewhat play those instruments.
Yes.
Because that whole mental can-do thing really does work. So, long story short, I have a lot of long stories. And the best part is Sydney has a lot of long stories, too. So this could be like the first 3 to 4 hours Sue Ellen Sanders show. But no, we won't do that to you today. But long story short, I feel that mentally, you knowing that you can do it is going to give you a lot of confidence in you throwing the first pitch out on Thursday night. And that, for anyone who thinks, well, that's the whole event, so that's what she's doing for her.
That's the whole event as far as I'm concerned. No.
But no, there's actually something going on at the stadium that you might enjoy too.
Oh, yeah, there's a
even
baseball
if you
game.
don't get to throw out the first pitch. So Sydney is going to tell us all about it.
Well, there is a baseball game, and that is what draws people to the stadium, not me, although I wish it were me that we're drawing them out that night. But we've sold seats to the game. If you purchase your tickets to the game directly from me or from anyone at the clinic or from any of the Julia ladies or online at thejuliaproject.org, those seats go towards the clinic, and we get reimbursed for those seats and paid through the St. Lucie Mets for those seats.
So you people can still do it. You can still buy.
Absolutely.
You can still go to thejulia.com or to any of the Julia ladies or let Sydney know and purchase your tickets. And is the $8, is that the same price as if you were just buying it at the gate?
I think it is. I'm not sure.
I
I'm
think
sorry,
it is
but
too.
I think it is.
I think it is
So it's
too.
$8 a ticket, And so partial proceeds benefit the Hands Clinic.
But
But
there's
they
more.
have to be purchased
Yeah.
through us in order for us to get that credit.
Okay.
But there is more. It's dollar
It's
night.
dollar night.
So it's
I
dollar
love
hot
dollar
dogs,
night. Yeah.
dollar beer, dollar
Yeah.
sodas, and dollar popcorn. Why would you not want to go?
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
It's a nice, inexpensive night out. Unfortunately, it's not fireworks night. I wish it were. That would be a nice big draw. But Thursday night, June 14th, is dollar night.
But there could be fireworks if you don't throw the ball, right? I don't
There
know.
could be fireworks in celebration of me making it too.
Yes, no, I prefer to think that's true. And um, I feel confident that your prowess at throwing the ball out will just be one of the highlights of the night, and that everyone who comes out to watch the St. Lucie Mets play that night will be so excited to see you and come and buy their tickets through one of the Julia ladies or through Sydney. Or what is the online purchase?
The website is thejuliaproject.org. So it's TheJeWeliaProject.org.
Okay.
O-R-G.
Okay, and Cliff will put it on there for you so he can,
Fabulous.
kind of put it on the screen as a
If you
reminder.
go to the game that night and buy your ticket at the window, it will not count towards it being part of our ticket sales. So far, we're really happy with our ticket sales. We've sold about 125 tickets. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but I wasn't sure we would sell any. So we're pretty excited.
And really, you still have a few more days to sell them.
Exactly.
The other thing that you could do is you could go online and purchase the tickets and then give them to some organization to take the kids to, like the Boys and Girls Club or Big Brothers Big Sisters. Or
See, that's exactly right. And that's what I've encouraged, is that maybe somebody could buy 7 or 8 tickets to give to a Boy Scout troop or a Girl Scout troop or a church youth group or so on, and then throw in another dollar or two for a soda and a hot dog. And for $10, you've got a night out for that child, and it would be so much fun.
so it's one of those fundraising projects that you can touch so many different organizations with, and I love that about it. Thinking about the different ways that you can change somebody's life, because that's one of my favorite things about the Treasure Coast, is that when you go into the grocery store or you go to the drugstore or you go wherever you go or you go to the Mets game, you run into the people that you know, the people that you work with, the people that you see at school, the people that you shop next to, the people that are driving next to you on US 1. And, it's basically a small town that is becoming, especially when it comes to the city of Port St. Lucie, a bigger city.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of growth all over, not just in Port St. Lucie, but in Fort Pierce as well, with the downtown area. And we have a lot of pride in where we're living. And so we want to support the people who have less than us. And there's always somebody that has less than you.
Well, and unfortunately,
And there's always somebody that has more.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Unfortunately, with that growth also comes the need for more jobs. And in St. Lucie County, we have 1/3 of our adult population who is uninsured. And that's abominable when you think about it. There's so many jobs here that are paying minimum wage or close to minimum wage and not offering benefits. And when it comes to health insurance, quite frankly, I just spent the past 3 years paying out of pocket for health insurance off the open market, and I was paying $1,800 a month. I was fortunate to, my husband and I together making enough money that we could pay that. But so many people can't pay insurance rates like that. So the Hands Clinic is there for that reason, for the working poor, for the folks who can't afford health insurance and don't have any other means of having access to health care. The doctors, the physicians, the assistants, and so on, they're all volunteers, and they provide quality health care to folks who otherwise wouldn't have access.
And it may be folks that just temporarily need help.
Absolutely.
Too. And especially when it comes to healthcare, some type of minor crisis or major health crisis can really make the difference between you being able to keep moving on and succeed, or when you talked about the dental work that the Hands Clinics supplies, when somebody has a toothache that's a constant toothache, they're not going to be able to concentrate and work, or if they're ashamed of their teeth and the way they look, or if they have a life-threatening or condition or some type of disease that's a chronic disease. Any of those things really can prevent them from living their full life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm a personal believer that dental care should be included in health insurance. I personally don't think those two things should be separated, because dental care can lead to, or lack of, can lead to heart disease. In fact, it's one of the leading reasons for heart disease is lack of dental care.
And the gums are all part of that,
Yes,
too. I saw a commercial the other day about that.
Absolutely. Yes, they are finally addressing that
Yeah.
in commercials. In addition, children, 51 million hours of school time is lost each year because of toothaches and tooth pain. And that's an amazing number of school hours nationwide, not locally, but nationwide. That's a lot of time missed from school because a child has a toothache. And dental coverage is not normally included in health care. It's a separate policy, a separate issue, and it's a shame that it is that way.
You have a lot of at the Hands Clinic. It's called the Volunteers in Medicine Clinic because there are a lot of volunteers that step forward that are nurses and doctors or dentists or technicians that volunteer their time either at the clinic, or they open patient availabilities at their office to see clients who might not otherwise get those services.
Correct. If a patient is diagnosed with a chronic disease that needs a continuum of care of some kind, it could be diabetes, it could be cancer, it could be anything that's going to require additional attention, the clinic does everything it can to find physicians, sometimes out of the area, that will see these patients at no cost. The Hands Clinic has a partnership with the Moffitt Cancer Center over in Tampa, and the patients from the Hands Clinic are sent to the Moffitt Center and are treated from start to finish at no cost to that patient.
That's very impressive. Well, so we've been talking about the Hands Clinic, and of course that's a volunteer medicine clinic, and Sydney Liebman's been telling us about her fundraiser for the Julia Project, which is part of the Hands Clinic, and that takes place this Thursday coming up at the Mets Stadium. And if you buy your $8 ticket through a member of the Julia Project or through the Julia Project online, or through the Hands Clinic website, or by calling Sydney, then that money is going to be donated for part of the Julia Project. But one thing about the women, and their men too, that are involved in it, is most of them, this isn't the only thing that they're doing in their life. They have given back to the community for their whole life, and they've been involved in one type of fundraiser or another. And you know that each of these women probably have 4 or 5 other different organizations that they've volunteered for or done fundraisers for, and I'm one of those people too. So what we're going to do now is something a little bit different because I am actually the founder and the planner of the Sailfish Beer Mile, which takes place this Saturday. So it's this very Saturday. No, Friday. Gosh, what am I thinking? Yeah, it's Friday night. I was thinking like a day run. It's a Friday night run. So it's this Friday night. It is June 15th. Cliff is mouthing the words for me. He goes, "Hey, I know when it is." And it's this is the 3rd annual event, and the first 2 events the last 2 summers took place, and the money went to the Dancing for Our Pals project. This year, the money is going to the St. Lucie County Education Foundation for their scholarship and grants, and also to an organization that is in Northwest Fort Pierce called Creating Tomorrow's Leaders, which is an organization that is a mentoring organization for children in Fort Pierce. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch hats with Sydney. Neither one of us are wearing hats, so we're really talking metaphorically. Cliff is looking around the room for a hat. He's probably not finding one. No, we don't know. We're not wearing a red nose, not right now. But Sydney is going to be asking me questions about the Sailfish Beer Mile, which takes place again this Friday night. So you don't need to know about it. She's looking at me in shock.
Well, because I'm thinking you've already answered all the questions.
Well, certainly there's something. Have you ever been to the Beer Mile?
I don't run, Sue
Okay.
Ellen.
And that's a really good question for you to ask.
Sue Ellen, tell us about the beer. I actually know about the Beer Mile. And for those of you who like beer, for sure you're going to like this event. For those of you who don't care about beer but just want to give back to the community, it's also a great event. And for those of you who can't go more than a mile, this is your game.
Okay.
So Sue Ellen, go.
Okay, so no, so what questions might you have about, what time does it start?
Well, instead of
How
the
much does it
details about the
cost?
event, tell us why you're calling it a beer run.
Well, it's a beer mile because you don't necessarily have to be a runner, and you could just be someone who likes to drink beer that doesn't mind running the quarter mile in between each beer. So the whole idea of the beer mile is that you get 4 glasses of beer and you run a mile.
You don't get all 4 at one time.
You don't. You start off with a glass of beer, then you run a quarter mile, then you drink another beer, then you run another quarter mile, and so forth until you've drunk 4 beers and run a mile.
Key word there might be drunk, but that's just me.
Yeah.
But did you hear what she said? Instead of water stations every quarter mile, you have beer stations.
But we do have water at the end of the race. I just want to say we kind of reversed it. So there'll be plenty of water at the end of the race.
And another good thing about this event is it's held at night. Sue Ellen, tell us about that.
Well, it's held at night because really, honestly, how many of us want to drink beer at 7 o'clock in the morning? And you might ask, Sydney, if you don't drink beer, but you want to be a part of it, or say you're under 21 and you want to be a part of it, how can you do that?
That's a good question. Sue Ellen, if I was under 21, which I'm glad I'm not, but if I were, would I still be able to participate?
Can you imagine having to live all over again?
No, thank you.
Yeah, it would be fun if you knew.
If you knew.
Yeah, if you knew everything that was going to happen and everything that you might experience in your life, the good and the bad. No, we do have a root beer option, and a Sailfish Brewing Company is supplying all the beer, and it's going to be White Marlin, by the way, if you are a fan of beer. It's not just going to be any old beer. It's going to be their craft
And so
brewing.
who's supplying the root beer? Is
And
it Hank's?
No, Side Door Brewing Company, they're famous for not only their beer but their root beer. They do craft root beer. They'll be supplying the root beer, and there's also going to be root beer on hand at the after party at Sailfish Brewing Company, which is over in downtown Fort Pierce, for root beer floats following the race.
OMG.
I know. See, I knew there'd be something that you'd get excited
Very
about.
cool. It's been a long time since I had a root beer float.
Yeah. So, and this is the first year that we're really going to have a big after party, thanks to Sailfish Brewing Company, who not only donates the beer to the race, but they also have decided, with the permission of downtown Fort Pierce and the city of Fort Pierce, to close the block down, that area down, and 2nd Street Bistro, which is right next door, is going to work with them, and they're going to have a party. They have a great band that's going to be playing. They're going to have root beer floats. 2nd Street Bistro will be able to supply the additional liquor, so if there's something else that you want to drink,
you could make your root beer float out of rum chata. Just saying.
Yes, you could.
That
yes,
would be
you
very
could.
good. So I have another question for you, Sue Ellen.
See, I knew you'd get it. This is fun, isn't it?
It's usually all about the bling for runners. My daughter-in-law runs for the bling. So tell us about the bling for this run.
Well, it's funny that you asked, because as we speak, my husband is picking up the T-shirts for the Sailfish Beer Mile, and they are just beautiful. They're turquoise this year. And actually, I think it's called Island Blue or Calypso Blue. And they're a special T-shirt that is very soft and has our slogan on it, which is "Beauty is in the hands of their beer holder." So and anyone who thinks this is going to be a drunken fest, it is absolutely not. No, because you're getting 4 glasses of beer, and they're smaller, they're the 6-ounce pour, so you won't be too drunk. But when you cross the finish line, you're also going to get this souvenir medal that everybody gets, not just the people who cross the finish line first. And it is actually a beer mug that is also doubles as a bottle opener. So you have a bottle opener medal that you will get, that you can wear around your neck, or you can carry it around, or you will always have the ability to open beer or root beer. What's neat about the whole idea of the race, too, is this year, for the first time, we have twice as many teams that have come in. And Taylor over at Sailfish was asking me, she says, so are they teams like gyms? Because, Orange Theory last year took all the top awards. Their gym took all the top awards. But Orange Theory, there's only a handful of people who've registered this year. So we have homegrown teams, and we have some team names that some of them I just really can't mention here. But some of them are cleaner, like moms who drink beer. Some of them are different and unique. There's teams that there's an award for the team that has the most members there.
Okay, that was going to be my question, because I don't really see this as a team sport. So you lost me on that one for just a minute. And I'm sure it's not a pass the baton kind of relay.
No.
So
although some of the guys last year tried to do that, but no.
So when you say teams, these are just folks that have come together so that hopefully they can either win the award for having the biggest team, or maybe the team that raises the most money?
No, they don't have to go and raise money. We don't get into all that raising money for miles, because really it's only the 1 mile. But they did the biggest team, the team with the most members, and then also the team with the fastest average. And so that means their top 5 runners who finish who have the fastest average time are the ones that take that award. And both
So they're timed.
Yeah, they
That's
are
frightening
timed.
to
We
me.
have a timer, and that means too that what they're timing isn't just the running part, but it's the drinking beer part. So the true champion of the beer mile is someone who cannot just run in between the glasses of beer, but drink that beer. I think we call it chugging it rather rapidly. And also not give it back. Although we don't take off points just in case. Although I will tell you that in the last 2 years, knock on wood, there's not been anybody who's given their beer back.
What does that mean, give their beer back?
Puke.
That's what I thought
Thank
you
you.
meant. Yikes.
Oh, and Cliff had to add to that.
The perhaps somebody who can't run could be a designated drinker.
Nope.
No?
You can't
Oh.
do 2 parts.
Oh well.
Because
Oh.
yeah,
that was a good
but
segue
you
from
can,
baseball.
You can actually walk. You can walk and drink your beer, and that would be perfectly fine. And so there's
So you don't have to chug it.
Yeah.
You don't have to stand at the station and drink your beer before you can move on to the next station.
No,
Okay.
there's a national beer mile that they do in stadiums. That's a timed event where they actually do time you, and you have to have like a record time. But you have the ability. You have to bring your own beer to that national beer mile, and you also have to take the beer can and slap it down on top of your head to show that the beer can is empty.
You mean like crush it?
Yeah.
Should
Oh, my lands.
should someone growl while they do that?
Yeah.
You know?
But this is not that kind of beer mile. This is a beer mile that is a timed beer mile. So there's a lot on the line, but it's also a runner and beer drinker friendly beer mile in that there will be winners, there will be people timed, but we supply the beer, first of all, because that's part of the perks you get for being part of the beer mile. And we're not asking you to crush a beer can on your head, and we're not, honestly, we're asking you, some people, if you're a runner and you run with water in your hand, you could just as well run with beer in your hand. So I don't care if you sip the beer the whole time or if you sip the root beer.
So I think there's an official term for the people who come behind and kind of, make sure that everyone's running on time or walking on time. I don't know what those people are officially called. I call them pooper scoopers. They just come along behind.
Yes.
So I won't be in town for your run this year, but next year I'd like to volunteer to be those pooper scoopers.
The pooper scoopers. Well, the whole thing takes place.
Carry the ribbon and
It starts on 2nd Avenue, just north of Sailfish Brewing, and it will run this year. Instead of running 2 laps, we're just going to run an out and back course that goes down North 2nd Street and then comes back up Indian River Drive. And of course, we have the city of Fort Pierce that's part of it, and we will have the traffic control taking care of it, and it should be just a really fun event.
and there's still time to register.
There's still time
And
to
where do they do
register,
that?
but I will tell you that we're only taking up to 600. We're closing the race down at 600 because we're going to have to run them. The last 2 years we ran them in two heats the first year and 3 heats the second year, and this year we're going to go up to 4 heats. And so if you register as a team member, you will be in the same heat as your team. And you could go online to register, or coming up this week on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll be at Sailfish Beer. We'll be doing packet pickup, and we'll do paper registration that day. The rest of the time, we're doing it through localraces.com. You look up the Sailfish Beer Mile, or you can look at our Facebook page, or you can pick up the information at Sailfish. Loudon Pools is one of our big sponsors, and we're really happy to have them. This is the third year they've been a part of this, and they also come out and run. And they usually bring a team of people from their office. The teams are anywhere from office people to people who go out and hang out together to families. They come up with some unique team names, and a lot of times they do special T-shirts to run in that reflect their team name. Last year, the Orange Theory team, I think they had like 40 people that were running. So they took the top number and of runners, and then they also, their runners were the fastest. This year we have Burn something Stewart, I don't know. It's a gym in Stewart, and then Hard Exercise Works, which is another gym which goes by the name of HEW, and both of those this year have gotten a lot of members already joining.
But not to discourage anyone else who isn't part of a gym from coming down and registering. For sure, anyone is welcome. Families, individuals, anybody is welcome.
And you could either form your own team or you can run as an individual. The registration is the same, whichever you do. You just click either individual or team member. But the cost is the same, and it's $45, and that includes your beer or root beer, your T-shirt, and your finisher medal, and the after party. And if you were registering as an individual, believe me, you will meet people. So the waves of the runners will begin at 7 o'clock. And if you're in the first wave, your race will start at 7, and then 7:20 and 7:40, and then the 7:20 to 7:40, that's 3 waves. I think we're doing 3 waves unless we need that 4th wave, and then the last wave will start at 8.
So just a reminder, Wednesday and Thursday night, you will be at Sailfish, which is located on 2nd Street, at the corner of 2nd Street and Avenue A in downtown Fort Pierce.
Yes.
People will be picking up their packets, their run packets, which will include all of their paraphernalia for the night of the event.
Yes.
But you'll also be accepting new registrations.
Oh, I forgot to ask you. Can I get 600 plastic bags that say PNC on it?
A little late for the asking.
Don't worry about it. Last year I just used envelopes. I was just thinking about it. You know how when you're getting everything all set and all ready, and I got the medals that are in boxes. I've got the safety pins. We have a special race number that says Sailfish Beer Mile on it. We've got the T-shirts that we're picking up. We've got everything all ready to go, and I didn't get the envelopes yet, but I can get the envelopes. But I was just thinking, I could get plastic bags from a bank. Oh, here's Sydney.
Here's a bank.
Let me ask Sydney. So, all right. Anyhow, enough about the Sailfish Beer Mile, because that's a really fun event. It's coming up Friday night, which is this Friday night, June 15th, and I'm really excited about it. The money is going to go toward the Education Foundation and creating tomorrow's leaders. Now, the Education Foundation of St. Lucie County, you may or may not know, they provide scholarships to graduating high school seniors, and we're going to do some scholarships for entrepreneurs who for the next few years that will be provided with this monies raised from the event. But they also provide grants for teachers. So sometimes the teacher, having been friends with teachers and me being a teacher for the last 8 years, how much money that teacher actually spends on supplies and different things. And they have some grants that the Education Foundation hands out every year that allow the teachers to apply for those grants and get the money that can pay for some special projects. So, so the money will be well spent, and then each year with the Sailfish Beer Mile, as long as we continue to do it with Sailfish, we'll have a different nonprofit organization that will benefit
That's
from
wonderful.
from
How
the
is
money.
that decided on? Is that, since you're the
We
organizer,
sit around and
you
drink.
decide. That's good enough. That's a nice, easy way. Do not send your applications to Sue Ellen.
No, we discuss the people that are involved in putting it together. We discuss who, and we try to, there's so many organizations that are worthwhile organizations, and it's important for everybody to get that extra leg up. So anyhow, enough about the Sailfish Beer Mile. We have a couple more minutes, and I just want to revisit the other thing that's happening this week, which is just the night before. So Thursday night, you go out to the Mets Stadium and support Sydney Liebman and the Ladies of Julia, who are raising money for HANDS, Volunteers in Medicine.
So I'm just going to ask each of you out there, even if you don't come because you bought a ticket from us, if you go to that game for any reason at all, please cheer me on when I get up on plate to throw out that first pitch. Your support will be so greatly appreciated.
And I feel, I'm going on record here, I feel very secure in the fact that your pitch, you're going to be like Professor Harry Hill's kids. You're going to use that think method and get that pitch right over where it's supposed to be. So, and you're going to look really cute while you're doing it, which is, of course, the other end of the equation. Don't grimace, okay, because people are going to be taking pictures, So that's Thursday night. That's coming up at the Met Stadium. Then Friday night is the Sailfish Beer Mile, which begins at 7 p.m. And then Saturday, Sydney, you may not have read about this, but the Humane Society is having a dog surfing competition at Pepper Park Saturday, beginning at around 9:30 a.m.
So the heavy competitor is my neighbor's dog. My neighbor
Really?
is actually the executive director of Habitat for Humanity of St. Lucie County, Bob Calhoun, and his dog is in it to win it.
Because, there's several champion dog surfers that are coming from the Palm Beach County area, and then one from Melbourne. So I will be bringing my dog. If you bring your dog to the beach, you just pay a $5 admission fee. If you want your dog to surf, it's $25. So you can call the Humane Society of St. Lucie County and be a part of that. So we learned a lot today. We covered a lot of things.
If anyone says they're bored, there's nothing going on. Something's wrong.
There's a lot going on in St. Lucie County, and I'm always here to tell you all about it. Thanks for listening today. You've been listening to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show, and my guest today has been Sydney Liebman. Have a great week. We'll see you next week with more.
You've been listening to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show, heard every Monday evening at this time. And archives of this show are available on YouTube. Just look for WPSL TV on YouTube or go to WPSLTV.com.